Hello, hello. How's everybody doing? How's everybody doing? There we go. There we go. Had a little bit of technical difficulties. Just a little bit trying to sign in. But I'm going to kind of give it about 2 minutes to actually start the session for today. So I'm so excited about it. I really am extremely excited about it. This is going to be a new ongoing thing that we do on the Core Inspirations channel, where we're going to be coming in live for social work sessions each Tuesday out of the week at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And like I said, I'm going to give a couple of minutes before we kind of get into today's topic and give time for people to kind of chime in. I don't know if other people were coming on right at 8, delayed a little bit. Like I said, I had some technical difficulties. So I definitely want to give space and lend some time for everyone to kind of come in. Okay? Just giving a couple of minutes. Got about one more minute. And if you're tuning in, if you're coming in, or if you're watching, please state your name below. If you have any questions, you can feel free to put them in the actual chat for tonight. And based upon the end of what we're going to be talking about, if I have time, I definitely will be addressing questions ongoing in the event of any upcoming live streams or any other social work sessions. If you have any topics that you feel like you really, really would like to know some additional insight about or get some discussions about, definitely DM me on Instagram at Core Inspirations, one word. You can look through my YouTube page and go straight directly to my Instagram, and it will provide you directly the link there. Okay, so again, we got about one more minute. But anyone, if you're coming in, my name is Melanie. You are watching Core Inspirations Live. This is a channel designed with social work students and professionals in mind. So you definitely are at the right place at the right time. And I thank you all for tuning in, and even for the people that are going to be watching the replay. Maybe not being able to come in today, but at least you'll know. If you want to catch a live, it's going to be on Tuesdays, each Tuesday at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time, 8:30 p.m. Okay? And I got a couple of more seconds, and we're going to move right into the topic for today. And let me just do a sound check, because I don't want to be getting started and you can't hear me, so you may kind of hear a little noise in the background. Okay, hi. I see someone says hello. Hello, how are you? I'm just trying to give a couple of minutes for people to get started. Please put your name in the chat below. Okay, we can see 3 people. Welcome, welcome. You are watching Core Inspirations Live. We're about to begin our social work session. Please put your name in the chat box below so that you can be properly introduced, and welcome. Hey, Rosie. How are you doing? How was class? I think you said you got class on Tuesdays, right? I think you just ended, at 8 o'clock? How are you doing? Again, you are watching Core Inspirations Live. This is a social work channel. We talk about all things social work. This channel was designed with social work students and professionals in mind. And my name is Melanie, your social work development coach. So we're going to go ahead on. Yes, we ended early. Okay, you ended early. So how are you feeling? Are you exhausted? Are you tired? Like, how is your day going so far? It was my capstone class. I'm doing good, just tired. Definitely a busy week. Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. I've been kind of tired. I've been really kind of like grinded it with my first job. I've just been like, ooh, I've been exhausted too. But I'm glad that you came in and chimed in. I appreciate everyone who's watching and everyone that's already in the chat. So I appreciate that. So Rosie, we're gonna get right into it. Now, some of the things, if you watch my channel, you know my passion is for social workers, students, and professionals. I really passionate and really pride myself in really helping provide insight to connect you from the classroom to your career. So I offer over 19 years of experience of working with children and families within all walks of life. And then just to kind of get into a little bit about myself, I was a non-traditional student. So let's take it back. Like, let me tell you a little bit about me, because some people who never are, you know, you may be new to the channel. You're not new. You're not aware of everything that we do. Again, welcome. I see the numbers are increasing in the room. Welcome, everyone. I'm just briefly describing who I am, and you didn't miss anything. I'm just getting into it. Let's see here. I just saw a response come in. Let's see here. Hi, I'm a BSW student in my junior year. Okay, hello. Silent. I want to say, is it Soil? Hi, I'm a BSW student in my junior year. Okay, cool. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know below. How did you find out about today's social work sessions live? But yeah, we're definitely going to get into it. So I'll give a couple more minutes for people to kind of come on in. We're going to pretty much still stick with time. It's going to be from 8 to 9, but I may go over a little bit just for tonight. All right. You are a BSW student. All right, so I wanted to start off like today. So today's title on top of what we're talking about, and I'm going to kind of like look down at my notes, so I want to make sure that I stay on topic. So today's topic is pretty much talking about why it's so vital that you know who you are, when choosing the social work profession as a career. It's vital that you know this. This is something that I felt like I wish someone would have kind of sat down and talked to me about, you know. I did have one social work, it was a social worker in high school that kind of talked to me about like going into straight to work versus going to college. So let's take it back. We're going to journal back. I want to make sure we get this. Hi, Solid. Thank you so much. Everybody welcome. Rosie, thank you. Yes, you are so welcomed. Thank you. We're glad to have you here. And the numbers are increasing. I see that, but I'm going to continue on. If you're wanting to introduce yourself, you can. If not, it's okay. I would love to know if you're a BSW student or MSW student. We're getting right into me pretty much sharing my experience about how I chose social work. So back in high school, originally I declared social work as a major. So I wanted to go to UNCG because I'm currently in North Carolina. I wanted to go to the University of North Carolina at Greensboro. So what I did was I felt like, okay, social work, that's what I want to do. I've heard about social work. I didn't know a whole lot about it. I just knew that it helped people. So I was like, okay, I think this is the thing for me. But again, I didn't do a lot of research on it. So I let some of my counselors know at the time, like, hey, I'm interested in doing social work. And again, a lot of the feedback that I receive about just hearing other people about the profession, oh, you're not going to make any money. Oh, you know, you're not going to do anything. You're not going to, you know, be successful in that career. It's going to burn you out. You know, so I listened to that. And mind you, I was coming out of high school. So I was very, very receptive to the feedback of people that I felt like, you know, were my superiors or that were older than me, that were like adulting, you know, so that I felt like they knew. So I did that. So what I did, I didn't end up going to college. I ended up going to technical school, 2-year school. And what I did was I changed my major. I said, okay, well, I like to work with people, but I don't want to just be struggling, you know. So I ended up changing my passion for working with people from social work to nursing. And what happened was I actually did what they called back then. It was more like a volunteership where you can kind of volunteer. And I would go in on the weekends and I would volunteer just to kind of see, okay, well, I like working with people. And I hated it, y'all. Like, I absolutely hated it. I used to be like, oh, I forgot to phone in. Oh, I forgot to phone out. Like, it was too much for me. And I realized then I found out that the passion that I have for people and working with people was still there, but not in that particular walk of life. So I started my career when I was 26 at the Department of Social Services, and I worked there 9 years. And it was in that time when I was there at the Department of Social Services, like I said, I knew that I wanted to work with people, that I reestablished my passion for social work. So this time I had grown, I was older, and I did do some research. So I compared sociology majors, which I found in my research was more of a liberal art type degree. And then I also looked into social work, and I compared and contrast, and I looked at the market for it, and pretty much wanted to find out more information about, okay, am I going to be able to get a job like after I get my degree? So as I worked at the Department of Social Services, I was getting some experience underneath my belt. I was able to find out, okay, well, this is this particular system when it comes to welfare and eligibility. And I was able to find out and learn about multiple systems as it related to food and nutritional services, the Medicaid policies of how the state rolled out their funding, and how all of that connected to like the government. So I was able to see that macro, mezzo, and micro. I was able to see the numerous levels of social work. So it really gave me great insight. And at that time, I decided to go back to get my BSW. And the rest is history. So I obtained my BSW, my MSW, and currently I'm a therapist. I have my provisional license. I have my LCSWA. So that's just like my journey of actually how I've came to the field of social work. But like I said, I was a non-traditional student. Not only was I non-traditional, I was a first generational student as well. So this is really what sparked the passion and the birth this channel. I really started this really serious in grad school when I went back. I said, you know what, I want to create a platform that really helps students develop, even while you're in the student process. Like you're still going through the classes, you're still, going each semester, doing your internships, doing your field practicum. You still need support, especially if you're the first one to do it, And I feel like this is the purpose of what I've done, and this is what I've birthed Core Inspiration. So I'm all about learning and teaching others as I grow and as I learn, and as we grow and develop together from who we are. We put that into our lives personally, but it also transfer over into our professional life as well. So let me just take a moment and look through some of the comments here to see who we have in the building. So Rosie, you are a faithful ma'am, faithful, always here. You've been rocking with me for a long time. And when I tell you I appreciate you being a part of the social work tribe, like hearts to you. I really appreciate you supporting. You don't know how much sometimes you just encourage me by seeing you consistently show up. So I just want you to know that. So that's Rosie. Let's see here. And I don't want to pronounce it, so I got you on YouTube and the notifications on my feed. Okay, Salid, okay. Well, that's perfect. Any particular questions? Like we're going to go into one of our first pointers here, but I wanted to know, like, do you have any particular questions as it relates to like your BSW program? If so, definitely comment below and we'll get to those questions. Or if you feel like you want to DM me, you can click on my YouTube channel and it'll take you to the Instagram page. And if you feel more, if you feel more comfortable with putting your direct messages there, you can put them there and I can bring them. So that way you can ask your questions anonymously as well. I just messed up that word, didn't I, y'all? You can put them in there secretly, because I'll be messing up some words around this time of the night. Brittany, that used to be that's my home girl for one, but we used to work at the Department of Social Services together. So you already know all them cases, girl. Hi, I see you are live, dropping by to show you some love. I appreciate that. I appreciate the love. I appreciate that. So nevertheless, we're going to move forward, okay? So number one, why is it vital you know who you are when choosing the social work profession as a career? So the first thing we're going to talk about is your core values, your beliefs, and working in the area of strengths. So like I said, hence the name of the channel is Core Inspirations. And what it is really truly inspiring you to be more of who you are at your core. But how are you going to be inspired to be more if you don't even know who you are? And I think that's one of those things that can kind of be taboo, because it's a lifelong journey. But you need to know more and more about yourself as you grow, as you develop, or just even knowing what your strengths are, So I think taking time just to sit down and assess, social work is a career that I'm looking into, but how does that resonate with me? Like, have you ever been told, like, you know what, you're a great listener, you are really patient, you do awesome work with children, you do awesome work, in the community? Like, tell me some of the things, if you can chat in the comments below. What have you heard before you even started pursuing social work? What have you heard regarding feedback from people that have either known you as your family and friends, previous supervisors or managers, colleagues? Please comment below. I would love to know that, because a lot of times we don't really lean into that. Sometimes those could be clues of what we already naturally do. Because I think sometimes the hardest thing to do is to kind of like know what you're really good at, because you just do it effortlessly. Sometimes you can know, like, okay, I know I'm good in that, but some other areas you really don't know, you just dominated in, or you're just rocking because you just do it so naturally. I think it's so important that we slow things down and listen and pay attention and become more aware, self-aware. Now that I am currently at an actual therapist, I find myself saying that, one of the things that I find personally, and this is my opinion, this is Melanie's opinion, I think the worst type of social worker there is, the worst type of clinician there is the social worker or the clinician that is not self-aware. I repeat, it's important to be self-aware, because if you don't know who you are and what you bring to the table, it's going to be hard for you to be able to receive feedback, for you to be able to allow your customers for their stories to be heard, for you to be empathetic, for you to be patient, for you to provide active listening. I think that's really, really important. We have to know who we are. And in a profession, when you're working with so many different people on various levels within the field, it's absolutely vital that you know who you are and that you are self-aware of your weaknesses, things that you have to improve on. We all have them, myself included. But you also need to know what strengths you have, So let's look at the chat for a minute. Yep. True. Yep, you agree. Yeah, I think that's one of the things that we really sometimes, can sometimes forget about, So like I said, think about those things. If you're really trying to figure out, okay, well, what are my strengths? Sometimes you can write down and you can get feedback from people and compare it from people that you trust, people that you know mean you well, people that you feel good about expressing to and being vulnerable with, and just really kind of like sit down. You could do that exercise where you kind of like list all the things that you heard versus all the things that you know, and you can kind of like compare and contrast and kind of look at those to kind of see, okay, these are my areas of strengths. And if you check out the channel, I have a playlist on different things as it relates to, values and professional values. I have videos on all of that, and you are more than welcome to check that out. Again, if you have any particular questions that actually comes up within this particular live session, you always can comment down below while we're doing live, and I'll address them if we have time. But if not, you can DM me any particular questions. Okay. And I want to make sure that I'm saying your name right. It looked like it says soiled. I'm not going to be able to say the last name, so I want to pronounce it wrong. But you stated that you are compassionate and have calm and calming attitude. Oh, let's pause on that. Let's talk about that. So I personally see that being a very, very essential skill set. To be able to be calm and compassionate, like one of those things, to me, it's one of the skill sets that really sets you apart. And it really is vital if you're going to be looking to kind of like go into like management roles, even in just, frontline work as well. But definitely if you're wanting to, go advance and become greater in your craft and in your skill, and you're wanting to excel within the profession, being calm, because a lot of what we deal with and what we see and how people have lived their lives, they're coming in with so much trauma, they're coming in with so much pain, so much baggage, and people have judged them on so many different levels, haven't heard their story, try to tell their story before they can get to tell their story. Being able to be calm and letting people unpack, that's a gift. That's a gift. And school can't teach you that. And that's one of the things that I'm just being honest and transparent with. You know, you get to know the processes and how to follow the GIN model and how to engage and making sure you're doing all the steps. Like, you get the basics. And one thing I can definitely say, as a BSW student and an MSW student, school, academia lays an initial foundation, but you have to build upon that. You have to build upon that. That's why it's so important that we stay connected. That's why I'm doing things like this, because I don't know everything. Though I've been in the field, in the profession, clinically, I'm still growing so much in leaps and bounds in that area. And then overall, I'm still growing within my profession. I'm still getting to know myself. I'm learning other strengths that I have, and things that I need to work on. But being calm and compassionate. I'm compassionate and have a calm and calming attitude. And then really just to kind of talk on a calming attitude. So from what I can kind of like see from that is that you also observe that. So when someone's coming in and they're stressed and they just like, okay, I need this done, or why you didn't do this, and they're kind of like pushing off their responsibilities on you, being able to be calm and bring that down, and then to actually observe calmness and put that out, put that energy out, that's going to help your clients. And it's not always going to be appreciated. Probably they're not going to tell you that, you know what, Silent, I think you're so calm and I appreciate how calm you make me feel. Sometimes you'll never hear it. But sometimes it's that one client that may have just been like giving you the hardest of time. And then as you build rapport with that client, they come back and tell you, you know what? I don't know if you ever knew it, but I appreciate you always having a listening ear for me. I appreciate you never judging me. I appreciate how every time that I encountered you, you were always the same, and how you make me feel, So I just want you to know, to take note to that. That is definitely a skill set. So let's go to the chat. Rosie said, I think my strengths are definitely my active listening and observational skills. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I think my strengths are definitely my active listening. We can do a whole session on active listening. So tell me this before I even go in. What's the difference from hearing and active listening? And we're not going to get too political and all of that. This is just opinion-based, what you feel, your experience. What's the difference between active listening and hearing? I would love to know. And I'll give you a couple of minutes, but yeah, I'm telling y'all, whoever you know that really can use this content, like I remember being in my BSW program, and it was times that, I was working full time at the Department of Social Services, going to school full time. I'm a wife, all of that. Like, I just had so many different things going on, but I was so determined to like finish. But there was times that I was just like exhausted. Like, I was exhausted. And I don't know if you're like me, I didn't really prepare myself for like being in school and having to do class and like really prepare my schedule. I kind of like just jumped in. So I was just like, oh, this is what I want to do, but oh my gosh, this is more work. And it's almost like the professors could care less. They're like, you have to have a certain amount of credit hours. You're going to have a certain amount of assignments. And it is what it is. You got to time management, and you have to prioritize the things in your life, and you have to learn how to say no. So a platform like this, like I'm building right now, was essential for me. I wish I had me at the time, because you need support. Like, it's a lot. It's a profession that's very, sometimes some people call it a thankless profession. But my thing is this: a lot of times when I first came on, I was looking for support. A lot of the people kind of like talk from a space of already starting their career. Like, they was giving videos, and it was still very insightful. But what about the development before you even start your career? The student process. What about that? Working in groups, dealing with professors that you can't stand, that will mark your paper up but not explain to you what you're doing wrong or how you're doing wrong. Certain classmates, certain people in your cohort that is just like, do not come by me. Do not sit by me. I don't want to work with you. Like, really, can y'all relate to that? Yeah. So the difference from hearing and active listening, to me, I think when a person hears, they're really hearing for what they possibly can say back. So they're really not processing and taking time and listening to the details that a person has actually said. They're listening for indications of pauses, stops, so they can interject, so they can interject. And I think a person that utilizes, that renders active listening, listens to the tone, the value, the emotions that are actually included in the dialect of people as they're talking. So you're looking at nonverbal communication. You're seeing if what they're saying verbally matches their facial expressions. And clinically, that's major affect. Looking at that, are they presenting one way but saying something else? Those are key skill sets to have. I'm not sure. Solid, are you interested? What's your track? Are you interested in macro social work, direct practice? Are you thinking about going clinical? Like, what's your trajectory in regards to your career? And while you're answering that, I will look at the chats. Let's see. And Solid said, I'm compatible. Yep, you already said that. This is a great skill. Yes, it's soul led. Thank you. You're insightful. Thank you. I appreciate that. And some of my, like I said, I've learned, and I have so much to share with you. I'm telling you, a lot of what I've learned have been trial and error. I have not always had skill sets of knowing how to, handle myself professionally all the time. There's things that I jacked up, messed up. But you know what? That's why I'm here today, to let other people know that you can grow. You still can develop. Your development doesn't stop until you stop it. Okay? Let's see, Rosie. Active listening versus hearing. And let me pull this over so that way I can see it. Rosie, you said active listening versus hearing. Making connections on what's trying to be said. Being mindful. Let me repeat that to make sure I'm reading it right. So Rosie, you said active listening versus hearing is making connections on what's trying to be said, being mindful, listening with no interruptions, etc. versus then what you hear not. Yes, I agree. You're not trying to interrupt. You're not trying to interject. You're not trying to, it's almost kind of like a race, or trying to win something. Oh, I got this to say, or I got, trying to prove somebody wrong, trying to defend, deflect, reject, It's really like you're bringing your guards down in a sense of being there. I think active listening is coupled with empathy. I think active listening is definitely coupled with empathy, because you're having to understand someone else's perspective. So you're giving time and lending space to lean in to what they're saying. I remember one of my old professors, he said, you are a great social worker when you can listen to someone and have no judgment. I repeat, when you are a good social worker. This is what my professor, one of some advice he had gave me. This was within my BSW program. When you can listen to a person and have no judgment. I think that's something that I work towards, because as humans, we're always having thoughts. But as it relates to active listening, I agree. So let's see, Solid. She said, I'm not exactly sure. I know I'm interested in working in adoptions and foster care. I'm also interested in school social work. Okay. Definitely check out my school social work video, because I did school social work for my field practicum in grad school. And then for foster care, within the welfare system, you definitely, I can, I know, I'm not exactly sure. Okay, so it sounds like foster care is something that you also are interested in as well, I think doing research in certain things. What is your current, Solid, what's your current internship? What are you doing now for your internship? Because you said you were a junior, right? I want to say you said you're a junior. So I don't know if you should have by now, I think. Maybe not. Depends on your program, the junior year. Because I think you probably have to have 2 semesters of it. If you're currently in an internship, I would love to know what you're currently doing. But yes, I agree. And while you're answering that, I want us to kind of move right along. We're a little over 9:04. Like I said, I'm going to kind of go over a little bit just because we kind of had like a little late start. But the second thing of why it's so vital that you know who you are when choosing the social work profession as a career is unaddressed trauma, pain, and conflict. Like, this is serious. So each of us come from different walks of life, right? Sometimes it's the negative things or the trauma or the experiences that a person may have that inspired them to want to do the work that we're in. Some people have had a social worker in their lives, whether it was substance abuse from their parents or their loved ones or their siblings. Some people have come living to who, social workers are because of maybe family dynamics and conflict and trauma, like complex trauma. We all have trauma. I feel like being, existing as a human today, you're not, you can't go without pain, in some form of suffering, or have experienced it, whether in your past, current, or possibly in the future, But I feel like unaddressed trauma, pain, and conflict, it's so vital that you address that, because this is the thing. How are we going to be able to unpack the lives of other people when we are not willing to unpack our own stuff? This is major in direct practice, but especially in clinical practice, because a lot of times people are coming with you with different diagnoses and different traumas, and they can sometimes trigger you. Now, Solid, I know you talked about school social work as being one of your things. Let me tell you a little story. So even as I grew up, I went through a lot of challenging things in my childhood as it relates to school and growing up. So when I had my field practicum, I really didn't think about that. Like, mind you, like all the way from when I was in elementary to now being grown and going to school, I worked at a charter school, and it was an elementary charter school. So a lot of the children there, some of them had like severe behavior. Some of them had mental diagnosis, mental health, DMS-5 diagnosis. Some of them were undiagnosed, but had like, developmental disabilities. So they had like either IEP or 504 plans. So, and a lot of them, depending on the area, they came from various backgrounds. So, all types of ethnicities, all types of races and backgrounds. But let me just get to the point. So I work with a lot of different children. So I collaborated with, principals, upper school and lower school principals, teachers, faculty, staff, from the gen teacher to the cafeteria worker in the cafeteria. So I really enjoyed it because I love working with youth as well. But to go to what we're talking about today as our second pointer of why it's so vital that we know who we are when choosing social work as a profession and as a career, I had to understand that I had trauma still there. So like I said, I went through a lot of traumatic situations in my childhood as it relates to school and my experiences in dealing with school. And it was this young gentleman. He was in the 5th grade, and you already know the lunchroom is where it go down. You already know that. They get a chance to be with their friends, and they get a chance to, my word, just say wild out. They just get a chance to be goofy, funny, laugh, and just be with each other, without having so much restrictions of being in different classrooms with different teachers. So I was fairly new. So I was a school social work intern. And a lot of times the lunchroom would be like the rowdiest place. They would, you would have to keep order, but at the same time, you want them to have a good time. So you already know children are still developing. They want to be seen. They want to be heard. They want to, be the class clown. They want to, they're still building their self-worth. They're still building their reputations and insight of who they are as it relates to belonging, as it relates to fitting in. So this one particular young man, he comes to me, and I'm going to use this as an example. He came to me and was like, "You want a lollipop?" So he came so close to my face. And my first thought was like, if you don't get out of my face, but I had to be real stern with him and let him know, like, that's inappropriate. If you want to ask me a question, you ask me a question. But I didn't know because, again, children are developing, and some young boys can be inappropriate. So I didn't know if he was making a sexual gesture or if he was just trying to be funny, So I didn't know which way he was going. I just knew it was inappropriate. So I addressed it, and I had to let him know. But what I found out, because I thought about that afterwards, I said, I hope I wasn't too strong with him, but he really was totally disrespectful. And I think, and this particular person, he would get in trouble a lot of times. But later on down the line, I was able to talk with him, and I told him about why I was so stern with him and why that was disrespectful. And I would see him often because he would get in trouble all the time. But I let him know. I said, let me just tell you this. I'm not here to embarrass you. I would never try to intentionally do that. But I let him know boundaries, and we talked about that. But resulting into this, I've had trauma with certain things there. So that triggered me in a way that it made me respond real quick to the point that I was like, whoo, I hope I ain't really hurt his little feelings, you know. But he didn't do it again. He wouldn't try to offer me no more lollipops after that. But he was able to understand. And later on, that particular child came to me, was just saying he was actually mentoring another child who also got in trouble. And I heard him say this. And let me tell y'all this. I could have cried. He was like, now you need to be, he was trying to tell this other child that was getting in trouble too. He was telling him he need to be, listening and doing everything that he was told to do. But he said, but I'm going to tell you, Miss Melanie, she's not going to embarrass you, but she's going to tell you what's right. And that for me, I mean, that was like, I'm telling you, I could have cried in that moment. I really could have cried in that moment, because it let me know that you can be stern, and you can, because you have to, with children, you have to teach them boundaries. You have to teach them boundaries. They have to know what's appropriate, because sometimes, people are not always taught at home. And then sometimes people are taught at home, but just different ways. People's home life is different. Sometimes from school life, so sometimes it could have been him just really, and he was trying to be funny. Like, it was no thought about that. He was trying to be funny, and he ended up getting embarrassed from it. But I just let him know that it's never my intention to get embarrassed, but you'll embarrass yourself if you do something that's inappropriate, because I will talk with you and I can pull you to the side. I will never openly display it, but that's what I'm talking about, being triggered, and there's certain things that it could be a family that's coming in. It was a family that had experienced, I want to say their house had got caught on fire, so if you ever experienced that, and those emotions and all of those things that kind of go along with that, you can kind of like, oh, I remember when this happened. So again, we have to know and address unaddressed trauma, pain, and internal conflict. Like, we have to do our work, y'all. We have to do it. We owe it to ourselves. We owe it to the profession. So let me kind of take a moment and go to the chat. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, because when you said junior, I said, I'm not sure if she's started her internship. But okay. But when you do, you definitely can. I don't mind sharing my experiences with my field practicum as it relates to being a school social worker. So if it's going to be there, that's awesome. And you are so welcome. You are so welcome. And let me move on to my last topic in regards to the topic that we're talking about tonight. So anyone that's watching, my name is Melanie. This is a channel for all things social work. This is a channel designed with social work students and professionals in mind. And you are watching Core Inspirations Live. We're going to be doing social work sessions every Tuesday at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time, so that we can kind of like build community over here. And anyone who's like resonates with the content on this channel, definitely subscribe so that you can be welcomed into the social work tribe. Rosie, you already know, let them know. But yeah, we build community here. We build community here, and I provide my insight of obtaining my BSW, my MSW, and my LCSWA. And I provide that insight to connect you from your classroom to your career. So like I said, I've been on YouTube about a year now, and I'm really trying to find different ways to engage and really support. I know a lot of things have shifted as it relates to COVID, as it relates to what your field practicum looks like, as it relates to what your intern and social work program. So I wanted to be able to provide support. And tonight we've talked about why it's so important that you know who you are when choosing the social work profession as a career. We talked about, number one, core values and beliefs, how important it is to know them, to recognize them, and to also identify areas of your strengths. You want to be able to do something that you feel like is definitely a strong suit for you, that you do naturally, so that you can excel and progress and work towards those things. There's nothing wrong with being aware of your imperfections, being aware of things that you have to work on, but definitely moving forward in the things that you are strong in. And I mentioned that sometimes you may not know knowingly, that sometimes you may have to confide in a friend, be a little bit vulnerable, but take the insight of people that you trust and you know that they mean you well, and ask them about different things that you feel like, okay, hey, what do you think I'm good in? And I talked about an exercise of listing all the feedback that you've received down through the years about your strengths, about your talents and abilities, versus the ones that you already know about yourself, and compare the two. Our second topic, as it relates to what we're talking about by knowing yourself and why it's vital that you do, is because of having unaddressed trauma or pain or internal conflict, that we're not going to be as effective if we don't deal with our own stuff. We can't think we can help other people deal with their stuff and not deal with our own trauma, our own unhealed areas in our lives, okay? And then the last is providing greater impact. So we're not social workers just because we just want to be mediocre out here, right? No, we really want to change lives. And we can do it on the many levels of social work that there is. The micro, the mezzo, and the macro. So the micro is that direct practice. You're working more closely one-on-one with people. Direct practice. I want to make sure I'm not missing comments, and I'm going to be going to the comments in a little bit. But then the mezzo, when you're working with children and families, if those are things that you feel like you're wanting to do in group work, you're going to need to be, a person that's of greater impact there. And then on the macro level, as you're working with communities, as you're working with different businesses within a community, we want to be effective in the work that we do. And if we don't know who we are, if we have unaddressed trauma and pain and conflict, we don't know our strengths, we don't know our values, we don't know what we believe, we don't know what we stand for, how greater is our impact going to be? I'm not saying that you have to agree with every belief or value that your customers believe, but it's good to know where you stand on certain things, because you will be tested. You'll be tested from your coworkers, you'll be tested from your customers and your clients, you'll be tested from your supervisors and managers, the agency and companies that you work for, because you're going to be tested, because this is the work that we do. It relates to ethical decisions and dilemmas. It's important to know where you stand on with certain things, because sometimes it's not always a black or white thing. It sometimes can seem a little skewed. You can say, what's the best thing to do? But if you lend to your values, you can say, at least I did what I felt was best to do and per the company's policy, So it's just very important. So let me lend some time to the comments. Let's see here. And we talked about active listening. Let's see here. Thank you. Yes. Wow. That is awesome, Rosie. The pull on my heartstrings. But yes, I appreciate that. Because like I said, it's just I'm a person where I just value collaborative, discussions, really helping people out. We're not here I didn't get here by myself. It was a lot of hard work that I had to do on my own, and a lot of, nights that I, was frustrated and stressed, definitely stressed, but we need each other, because a lot of times we have to stay connected. Each state bears their policies and laws. Sometimes we're not knowledgeable of what another state does or another county does, or school system, what another school system does. Because one thing I can say about social workers is that we are so versed on looking at a presenting problem and then looking at all the systems around that presenting problem. Okay, what's the resources? Okay, what's the environment? You already know about PI, right? Person and environment, the theory around that, how a person, their behaviors is influenced by their environment, what they're dealing with, how they respond to it, the reciprocity between how a person responds to their environment and how that environment then responds back, that person's access to needed resources. Because at the end of the day, you can talk to a person about how they may need to stop smoking drugs or doing drugs or abusing drugs, but at the end of the day, not knowing the trauma, not knowing the pain, not unpacking that system. They may do not have a place to stay. Someone's just taking their children. So it's not so much of going in knowing that you know the situation or you know the problem. It's having a general, seeing the presenting problem, and then working towards exploring, okay, what is this impact on this particular person, on this particular family? Because even as you may have one presenting problem, if you're dealing with a family, each family member may be impacted by that problem differently, So social work, I'm telling you, it's a wonderful field to get into. I'm definitely not a believer that it's a field that you're going to be poor and not make enough money. You got to know how to negotiate. You got to know how to strategize. And I'm about that too. I'm telling you, I have so much to give and so much to offer. But yeah, the time is 9:19 right now. I want to open it up to any questions. So I see that a lot of other people have joined. My name is Melanie, and you're watching Core Inspirations Live. We're going to be doing social work sessions every Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you ever have any questions about any topics that you want me to cover, definitely DM me on Instagram at Core Inspirations, one word. You can go to my YouTube channel and click the Instagram link. It'll take you directly there. But I wanted to open it up to any questions. I appreciate everybody that's tuning in today. I really do. I appreciate that. I'm going to get me some water. I've been talking over here. But yeah, any questions? Any questions right now? If so, the time is now. And I'm going to kind of look down and see if we have any questions. Hey, Ron, what's going on? I appreciate that. My cousin's showing me some love. Yes, I appreciate that. Let's see here. Silas said, I will be applying to internships soon. Just need to meet with someone from the social work department at my school first. I will be applying to internships soon. Just need to meet with someone. Okay, so let me ask you this. Have you considered, like, I'm not sure how they do it there with your particular program. So do they give you like a first, second, and third option solid as it relates to what areas of practice or population you're wanting to work with? Do they give you that as an option? Yes, I appreciate the love, because I really do. You know that. Trying to make me cheese on here. I appreciate the love. Yes, and if anyone has any other questions, feel free to comment below. Or again, you can DM me directly at Core Inspirations, one word, at Instagram. And then I also encourage you too to look throughout the channel. Look throughout the channel. And while we're waiting for Silas' response, on this channel, we talk about career, we talk about self-care, we talk about inspiration and education. So one of the channels on my, I guess one of the segments on my channel is also core living. So core living is a passion of mine where it really teaches us how to love ourselves, how to have self-empathy, how to have self-love and compassion. And it talks about the importance of us growing. You know, I'll have some videos on there about you're not your mistakes, fulfillment. So definitely look at that. Definitely look at that. Those are some things that I've started, but I'm going to be building upon. Definitely also within the channel for students that are really on the go, don't really have time for the academic part of the channel, I have a podcast. So I have 2 episodes up. I'm going to be uploading the 3rd one probably this week. So definitely stay tuned for that. If you're wanting to just to listen, you don't have time to really kind of like catch a live, or you want to just kind of catch up on some academic things of the profession, that's definitely going to be the space for that place here. Like, I want it to be an all-inclusive, one-stop social work stop. So, and I want y'all to share, like, if you resonated with anything in today's session, in today's live, definitely subscribe so you can be welcomed into the social work tribe. Like, we welcome you here. And definitely share. I will be honest, I got to improve on really kind of getting my reach out, but I definitely, you know, depend upon you all to kind of like let other people know about this channel. Like, let other people know that you feel like really can benefit from it, you know, let them know. So let's see, let's go back to the chat. Silas said, it hasn't been explained to me well yet. I'm waiting on a response from the person who helps arrange the okay. So this is what I want you to do. So there's nothing wrong with that, waiting on the person to respond back. But I want you to start beginning about your end goal. Have your end goal in mind. So I know that you said that you like foster care. You were interested in that, and you also was interested in school social work. So if I were you, I would start researching, looking for schools for the school social work intern position, looking at the foster care system for child welfare, and looking at what it requires. And then, because we have to learn that we're going to have to be advocates for ourselves, we advocate for our clients, but we also learn it first when we advocate for ourselves as being a student. So start to advocate for yourself and start to research possible connections, because sometimes the field instructor, the person that's over the field placement, the field placement instructor, there is based upon their actual, connections in the community, people that have worked with the school system. So sometimes, you can help them out by actually saying, you know what, I actually have researched this and they're willing to accept me. But it's so important, and I think it's very intentional and very smart, because this is the thing. After you graduate, you're going to be wanting to get hired. And before they hire you, they're going to want you to have experience. So if you're not having experience in your internship, how you going to get hired? So if you can, start with your end in mind. You want to get hired for a particular job? Let me look for an internship that's going to help me to get greater chances and a greater increase ability to greater increase my ability of getting experience. Because your field practicum and your internships are actual experiences that employers count as experiences. Even though they're not sometimes a year long or 2 year long, they definitely count as experience. So it's so strategic and so smart to start looking. Okay, you said you have been looking. Okay. So what have you been coming across as it relates to school social work or foster care? Which one do you find yourself leaning to the most? Because some of them are similar. You're going to deal with child welfare regardless. If you're dealing with children, it's going to be wrapped into it too. Lee reads, hey Lee, how are you? I remember you, girl. I remember you back in the day. How are you doing? Y'all just showing up and showing out over here. Lee reads, I remember you. You said, hello, I'm joining the live. Hope is well with everyone. Well, thank you for just telling me that you were here. I appreciate that. I remember you. You do a lot of work with expressing your love for the Lord. And you do a lot of work of just expressing the word and all of that. So I hope you're doing well. I'm glad that you are stopping by. And I think you do a lot of reading too. So yeah, Lee, I remember you. I'm so glad you stopped by. All right, what did Rosie say? My internships wants to hire me. All right, that's what I'm talking about. You have to be intentional. My internship, Rosie said, wants to hire me. The director always talks about it, but I want to branch out. I'll be graduating in 2 months. Can everybody in the room congratulate Rosie? She's about to graduate, y'all, from her MSW program in 2 months. Can everybody tell? Just shout out Rosie right now, y'all. Like, show her some love in the comment fields below, because she's been rocking it. So she said, but I want to branch out. I'll be graduating in 2 months. Should I look elsewhere now before making my decision? So this is what I would do. I'm all about risk assessments and comparing. Like, I'm very analytical when it comes to making like the choices and decisions. I would say there's nothing wrong with researching and comparing and seeing. My question is this. It's always a give and exchange. So because you're clinical and I don't know about all of your state's requirements, but as it relates to your supervision, as it relates to getting your clinical hours, your continuing education hours, because Rosie, I know you're in the clinical field, what systems do they have in place to help support you to meet those goals? Are there systems already in place? How do you feel? Do you feel like the environment is a positive and supportive work environment? Do you feel like there's other responsibilities or roles that you feel like you still want to learn? Is it conducive to you continuing to grow there and develop? So how conducive is that? That's what I would ask you. How conducive is it where you're currently at right now? And then I would ask you too, what would be some of the reasons that you would want to kind of like look elsewhere? What do you feel like you may not be getting there? All right, Lee. Yes, back in the day. I'm doing well. Hi, and congratulations. Thank you, Lee, for congratulating her. And Lee, I was going to ask you too, are you a social work major? Because I know that you had reached out to me before, but I'm not sure if you was a social work major or we were just kind of like exchanging, just talking one to another. So please leave that in the comment below so I'll know that if you are a social work major. All right, I'm going to the chat, you all. Solid. She said, there are private adoption agencies near me. I also have connections through my sister who is also a social worker and works with Yes, Solid. That's what I'm talking about. Utilize your support systems. Utilize your support system because you want to make your best informed decision as possible. I'm not saying that you don't take chances. I'm not telling you that. I'm telling you to make sure that you go with, like I said, again, knowing your core values, talking about that, knowing what you believe, and then really assessing and checking in with yourself to see how you're feeling about making a decision. But you said that there are a lot of private adoption agencies near you. Yeah, and if I were you, I would just call and ask around. What are some of the key skill sets do you think? And let them know, like, hey, I'm a social work student, and I'm really interested within the work of child welfare, and I wanted to know, like, what do you feel are some key skill sets that I need to develop that will help me to flourish in this particular field? Yeah. Because it was just like I said, sometimes you don't know everything. You grow and you learn and develop. But being intentional, because you don't want to waste your time. You don't want to, and I'm not saying that sometimes you can get a field practicum that you don't really particularly think you like at first, but then after you do it, you're like, oh my gosh, I love this. Like one of the things that I can be transparent about, I was a little nervous about doing a field practicum in substance use because I felt like, I don't know if I'm going to like that. I was a little nervous about it, so I went on several interviews, and one was in the hospital to be a hospital social worker. One was I think two was for substance abuse, but it never panned out. Like I would try to, follow up with them, and sometimes that's a lot. These agencies, they sometimes want the help, but sometimes they don't always have the space for interns, so that's another thing too. But it worked out. I'll end up doing school social work, which I love working with children, and it was just like right on time. So let's go back to the chats. Let's see here. Rosie stated, I want to look elsewhere because I like having options. Okay. I like that skill though. And I'm telling you this. I'm learning that. And I've learned that, but I'm still learning that, because I'm the type of person, once I get something, I like to stay there. I be there. I'm loyal. And I'm not saying that you're not loyal by having other options. I mean, you're loyal to yourself, so there's nothing wrong with that. But I think I come from a little different generation sometimes that I can kind of be, get comfortable, So I like that you love options, Rosie. I want to look elsewhere because I like having options. The work environment is nice, but there's been some turnover in and out of the program, which has its pros and cons. That's a whole nother video. Well, Rosie, I would tell you, because you have 2 more months, try it out. The time now is time to dust off that resume and launch that resume out into the deep and see what comes back. See what type of particular responses you get, and then look over the benefits and look over the programs and what they offer and the compensation and all of that, and then you make your best informed decision, because social worker have options. That's one thing I definitely want to highlight from what you said. Being a social worker does not put you in a box. If you're a type of person that loves to do many things, social work would definitely probably be ideal for you. Because like I'm telling you now, I'm a person, I like to do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and a little bit of this. And it's afforded me with flexibility. I make my own schedules. I work remote. Like when I tell you, I love it. And I always have not been in this place. There's been places and times when I was working a job where I hated. And I got to hate it because I felt so complacent, and I felt like, okay, I don't have access to impact people's lives, So I've worked several positions at my time at the Department of Social Services, and like I said, I have a lot of experience, both good and bad, but it's really created me to be the person that I am today. So I want you to know you may make mistakes throughout your career, but don't get so caught up on not trying to make mistakes. Get caught up on growing and learning from your mistakes and developing. Because development, you will always win if you choose to develop. You will always win if you choose to continue to develop and even speak those hard truths, like have those heart-to-hearts with yourself. Let's see here. Thank you. I hadn't thought of calling. Yeah, Think about that. Think about that. And then that way you can kind of compile. And as you know, research is something that social workers do as well. So research, get some qualitative responses. And then you can kind of make a list of the qualitative responses, meaning that you're talking with people, getting their insight from management to the actual people that are frontline staff that do the day-to-day. I think having different perspectives are really important. And then you got your sister, like, you good to go. You good to go. Rosie stated, I also know my worth and want the best deal in regards to salary. My supervisor is a LICSW, which is good for licensing. Okay. Rosie, is that in South Carolina? Tell me that's in a different state. I want to say, I don't know if that's in the same thing. It might be have that same acronym. Because I want to say, I don't know if Seattle. I forget what state you're at. You don't have to give me a state if you don't. You can DM me if you want to. Yeah, but okay. So you also want to know your worth and want the best deal in regards to your salary. Your supervisor is an LICSW, which is good for your licensing. So that's a good thing. You actually kind of see the benefits of that. Because that's what we have to do. I'm telling you, it's a lot. It's a lot. Yep, no. Thank you, Melanie. Very well said. Yes, Leah reads, nice. I thought about minoring in business. Okay, I didn't catch that from Leah. I must have spoken. Okay. Leah said that she finished undergrad at Claflin University as a sociology major. That's what it was. It was sociology and business administration minor. I'm applying to MSW programs when we last spoke. Okay, Leah, so are you on here still, Leah? So what's the update with the MSW program? And congratulations to you, too, for your undergrad for sociology and a minor in business administration. That is awesome. Yeah, I was applying to my... So have you already applied to your MSW program? Have you got accepted in? So we are rocking. Leah reads, nice. All right, so I'm just going to kind of recap just for tonight for anyone that just possibly just chiming in and popping in. I just want to kind of do a recap from to what we talked about today, okay? So in regards to today's topic, it was why it's so vital you know who you are when choosing social work as a career. We talked about number one. It's important because knowing your core values and your beliefs and your areas of strengths, those are things that helps you to know, what you believe, what you don't believe, what you stand for, what's important, what's not. And it also can help to be an ethical compass for you, because sometimes ethical dilemmas and decisions are always not black and white. And a lot of times we have to depend on what's ethical to us as it relates to our values. Not all the time, because sometimes we can't go with our own. We have to go with the professionals' policies. But it does bear in some type of credibility, and it offers some type of value and insight as what you do. Because when you have a particular value or belief, you bring that with you. Sometimes you may not act on it because you have to act more professional-wise based upon a policy, but it does lend value to you. So it's so important that you know yourself and you know your core values and you know your beliefs. And if you all are wanting more content around like how do you begin that, where do you start, how do you begin knowing your strengths, I talked about an exercise as it relates to you talking with someone that you can confide in, someone that you look up to, and you can start asking them questions about, hey, what are some of my strengths? And you could do an exercise. You list that feedback from several people that you trust and who you feel that are really good for you and will benefit, you and want to see you grow and develop. And then you'll put on the other side of the list things that you already know that you're good at. And you can compare and contrast. And those are kind of like lend you to some of your values. Number two thing that we talked about in today's session was unaddressed trauma, pain, and conflict. That is so important that in you knowing who you are, you also have to unpack your trauma and drama too. If you got drama, you got to be real with yourself now. Are you the person that brings it everywhere you go? Do you like to disrupt a room? Let it be known, you know what I'm saying? So we have to be real with ourselves, and we have to understand that if we have unaddressed trauma, pain and conflict, internal conflict and turmoil, that hinders us because we're going to be dealing with so many types of people from all different walks of life that they have their own pain and their own trauma. And we're not even talking about vicarious trauma, secondhand trauma. Like when we're listening to stories and digesting that, and people are telling us over and over and over and over again, excuse me, it's important that we deal with our own and do our own internal work, that we're doing, making time for self-care, that we're addressing things that are causing us stress, that we have a stress management plan. Like, it's very important. And one of the third tips that we talked about is, once we know our values and our beliefs and our strengths, and once we address or begin to even work on, because sometimes it takes time, it doesn't happen overnight when we have deep-rooted trauma or pain or conflict, but it causes us to yield greater impact for the work that we do, for the calling of being a social worker. Because I feel like the profession chose you. You didn't choose it. Now, sometimes you may feel like you did, you know. But what are your takeaways? Any takeaways from tonight? What was something that you really, got out of today's session? What was something that really resonated with you tonight? Definitely comment below and let me know. Something that you got out of today's session. And I'll give you time. And just as, because like I said, I see increases people coming in. My name is Melanie. I am a social work development coach, and you are watching Core Inspirations Live. This is a channel designed with social work students and professionals in mind. On this channel, we talk about all things social work as it relates to career, inspiration, education, and self-care. So we're going to be doing these social work sessions live every Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we're going to be coming off of topics every Tuesday. And if you have any particular questions, or if you have any ideas or opinions about choices of topics, DM me at Core Inspirations, one word, on Instagram, and you can go there directly by choosing the link. If you go to my YouTube channel page, my About section, it'll take you directly to my Instagram. So you can DM me any questions or concerns that you have related to where you're at in the program. Definitely don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. Let people know about this channel. If you found it value today, if anything, and you haven't subscribed, like, what are you waiting for? Really? But definitely subscribe so that we can welcome you in the social work tribe. I have obtained my BSW, my MSW, and I am provisionally licensed. I am also as a therapist. So I'm definitely in the clinical realm of work. So the work that I do, I am just an advocate of really building support and building a platform for people who are non-traditional students like myself, or traditional people that are within the social work profession. And I like to be able to connect you from your classroom to your career every step of the way. Okay? So definitely do not forget to comment your questions and DM me, because I'm definitely going to be looking into those topics, because I want to be able to bring different topics that you all like, things that resonate with you. Like, it's not all about me. Now, I love social work and I love helping people, but it's not all about me. I want to be able to do things and talk about topics and expound upon things that resonates with you and things that you're really wanting to know. Because I know when I was coming up, when I was in my BSW program, I know a lot of people talked more about the career side, and we definitely get up in the career part. We definitely get in there. But I also wanted to know, like, I needed help just getting through my program. Like, it was so much. Like I told and I mentioned before, within my BSW program, I work full time going to school. And I was like, oh my goodness, I don't know how I'm going to do this, So I wish I had a platform like this. So let's go back to the chats. Let's see here. Okay, Leah, learning from my mistakes, definitely needed to hear that. I came on the live just in time. Oh, wow. Yes. Because it's a lot. It's a lot because, the work that we do, you're helping people, but we're still human ourselves. We're not exempt, and we can be hard on ourselves. We can be overcritical, overjudgmental, just straight nasty with our own selves, And it's sometimes very hard to show empathy to someone else when we're not empathetic to ourselves. So that's a whole nother thing, y'all. That's a whole nother thing. But thank you, Leah, for being transparent with that. Rosie, tonight's live was great. Your topics were very knowledgeable always. Well, also, having more people with different experiences was great too. I thought so too. Thank you so much. Like I said, Rosie, you're always faithful. I appreciate that. And you always chime in. And Solid, yes, I appreciate getting to know you and seeing you. Hopefully you'll come back, for more lives. I appreciate your insight and openness to share too. So you're welcome for the insight that you provided. And you are awesome too. I appreciate it. And really, like I said, honestly, I'm not really all a tech person. Like, I'm really not. I'm learning and growing. I'm really trying to like really stretch out my reach to people, to let people know more about like this particular platform that's here, So if you all have any ideas about how I can do that as it relates to like letting people know about what I'm doing, definitely DM me so that I can know, because I would definitely take your suggestions. But I do ask. I really do ask. It doesn't cost you anything, but a little bit of time to let people know, like share my content. I don't have a whole lot of subscribers and all of that. So, once we get to that point and the channel builds, I want to let people know about it, So a lot of times I know with the algorithm of YouTube, like if you're not like a big channel, they don't really put your content out. But we're not here for all of that. I mean, I do want to be, grow the channel and let it grow into what it's going to be. I'm not saying that, but what I am saying is that that's not like that's not my main focus. My main focus is to reach and to encourage and to support. But I also want people to know and be aware. And because I use this platform, I'm going to have to like really, get my numbers in regards to like my reach to people. And they don't do that without you having a certain amount of subscribers. So definitely share my content with anyone that you feel like would truly benefit from this content. Like I said, this is something that I feel like I want to do. I was trying to come up different ways to engage, because that editing, Rosie, you already know. Girl, I was on the struggle bus with that. Like, I cannot do editing video. I just don't have the time right now. I have some, things going on in my professional life too that I'm growing, and I'm just like laser focused, and I don't have a lot of time. So I try to take out time when I can. So Social Work Sessions Live is where it's at. So let me put it in the chat. My name is Core Inspirations. Let me see if I can put it in here. It's Core Inspiration Salad, one word. So that's CORE, Inspirations with an S, all one word. If you go to my Abouts tab on the YouTube, on my YouTube channel, About, click on that Instagram icon. It'll take you right to my Instagram page. That's Core Inspirations, one word. Let's see if we can do it here. Yep, you should be able to see that now. So it's Core Inspirations, one word. Yep. And we have quite a few people in here. So I'm just, like I said, I really appreciate you all. If we don't have any kind of other questions about anything, I'll give it a couple of more minutes. But like I said, I really feel that this is definitely beneficial. Like, this has really made my day, made my night. I just want us to do our work, you all. Like, really, I'm on my own internal journey and work. I think that's lifelong. Like I said, it's a lifelong journey. But I want you to know that you have to take care of yourself as students. I had this saying when I was like in school, when I was like, when I got a mind on the Lord, just really kind of birthed, core inspirations in me. Like literally in my last year of actually graduating my MSW program, like this whole core inspiration concept was like birth. So I really am passionate about it. But I have this saying, like, before you are a student, before you are a professional, you are a person first. You are a person first. Okay? And what that means is that we have to nourish ourselves. We have to love ourselves. And we have to, really invest in ourselves. And especially when you're in an industry, in a profession that gives so much and can take so much, we have to know when it's time to replenish, refuel, because we can't give from an empty cup, right? Yes. Yes, and yes. All right. We'll add you on Instagram. Okay, that's okay. That'll work, Leah. I got it. Okay. Yeah. But yeah, I'm just so excited to see you all chime in. Like I'm telling you, this really made my day. It really did. It really made my day and made my night. But don't let people tell you what social work is and what it's not when they're not a social worker. So don't let other people try to dictate to you what something is without having the experience of actually being it. Because one thing what I've learned and what I've seen is that a lot of people who had the social work title or the role, like case management functions and certain duties and tasks, they deem themselves as social workers but are not social workers per the educational requirements. So let people that have had experiences in actually being, look at the validity in what people are saying. So if people are just down, because it's a stigmatized profession. That's pretty much what I'm saying. And what I'm saying is here, we're here to break that up. We're here to break that up. Poor social worker, no such thing. I would tell you you ain't doing something right. I would say that. Especially if you're in the clinical field. If you're doing clinical and you're actually doing clinical work, what? What? I feel so empowered in being a social worker right now. I'm a licensed clinical social work associate. Like I said, I'm currently in the therapist role as well. And like I said, just the journey that it's taken me to really get where I'm at, I feel so empowered. Like I love the flexibility that I have in my schedule. I love to be able to provide impact. I love working with families and the different dynamics that families have. I love working with youth. I think the people that you work with, our clients, are resilient. I think they're resourceful. They're very down to earth, and they, I just love it. I can kind of go on and on about it. Yeah. So the time is 9:51, and we did go over a little bit. But if anyone has any other questions, feel free. Let's end it by 10. So I can stay in here about another 9 minutes. Let's end it at 10 to officially end it at 10. Give me one moment. All right, let's see here. We're going back to the chats. Listen, that's so true. There is money to be made, especially since clinicians can now work. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Because a lot of times people will let you, think or, make you believe like, hey, and I'm not going to say that you don't have to grow within the field. I'm not going to say that you don't have to work your way up sometimes. Because sometimes you definitely have to do that. You definitely have to do that depending on the area of practice that you're in, the population you're working with, your actual demographic location. It definitely all factors in. But there is definitely money to be made. I'm telling you. And then you can just, research that. And that may be something I can do too. But it's definitely something that I feel that you have to just caution some of the information. Not everything, people tell you is always true. And I'm not saying that they lie about everything, but I just say follow it up with doing your own research. So that way you kind of know for yourself, And you don't have to take my word either. You can research and look into certain things, but I'm not here to, I'm just being honest and being real. There's definitely money to be made within this profession, And it depends. And I also would say this too. I think one of the reasons I love the profession of social work too, you can do so much work. I mean, how many roles and how many areas of practice do you think that, you know, in other professions you get a chance to do? Like, we can go in the hospitals, we can go in the court system, the judicial system, we can go within police, you know, within law enforcement, you know, we can go in hospitals, we can go in schools, we can go in nursing homes, the Allison's Clinic, we can go do the whole mental health field. Like, it's endless. It's endless what we can do. And I think it also transcends over very nicely to entrepreneurship. So that's something else, you know, that I feel like sometimes school doesn't really prepare a person for. But that's a whole nother session. That's a whole nother session, y'all. But yeah, I want us to keep this going. I really want to keep this going. I'm really enjoying just the correspondence and the response. Travel social work. Yes, law firms too. Girl, travel and social work. Because I mean, my brother, he's an actual ICU nurse, and he does a lot of traveling with the career that he does. But definitely, when I found out, like, I was in grad school towards the end of my year, and it was some young ladies that they brought in, and it was some gentlemen too. Within the police sector, how now they have the crisis intervention police officers, people that are clinicians to work alongside people within the law enforcement, because a lot of times the crimes are things that are kind of like happening from habitual crimes. Sometimes people are dealing with undiagnosed mental diagnosis or challenges and illness. And that was something that was new to me. And then it was some young ladies who were actually signing up with different agencies to do travel and social work. And they were doing a lot of work in California and getting paid money. Yes, ma'am. Because it's all about value. We're bringing value, and in exchange, we want value. So I definitely would say never to lowball yourself. The skills sets that we possess. What? Don't get me started on here. Yes, I would like to start out in the hospital setting. Okay, Lee, yeah. Yep. You would like to start out in the hospital setting. Okay, that'll work. And I would just say do your research, you know, maybe volunteer, or if you don't have time to volunteer, you also can, you know, like I told Solid about reaching out to people, or maybe going, I know with COVID it's kind of like a little complicated with some of that, but researching, doing your research about what is needed in that particular field. And I would even say this, and like I'm telling you, gems and jewels. Look into specializing in something too, you all. Look into specializing in something. What can you do that'll put you aside and make you different? Because this is what you will see. The same class people, same classmates, the same people that's in your cohort, there'll be a competition when it's time to graduate. They're all going to have MSW's degree. And you got to be able to know, why would they choose you over this other person? And y'all probably went to the same school. Like, I've actually have been on an interview, and the person that was already in the interview room came out was my classmate, and I was going in next. It was something that's, and found out later we both found out later that we both didn't decide to work at that particular agency, but nevertheless it was a competition. And it's really not a competition with this person or that person. It's really a competition within yourself. Like, how are you going to be your best self and beat that and grow from that, you know? Yeah, there are always jobs in the hospital field. Yes, there are. It's always. A lot of times they I know it looks like a lot of resources and a lot of, I mean, there's so many different fields in what they do too. But I feel like they're growing because the field, as it relates to like social work, you know, because our degree is a social science degree. And I've gotten feedback from people that work within the medical field that sometimes feel like sometimes social workers are not sometimes really valued in that sector as much, because they kind of look at them as only people that can like look up resources and connect people to resources. But the industry is growing, and people are now like never before really leaning in and seeing the skill set that social workers are trained and what they possess. And then a lot of people, you know, we have lobbying, and, you know, a lot of times because of that, they are hire social workers sometimes more so than other people, you know, within other professions. So, and it's not, you know, to say one's above the other. We all learn from each other. We all grow from each other. But definitely know that you are definitely increasing your markability by becoming a social worker. And it depends on what level of work you want to work in. All right. All right. So I'm going to ask y'all to say this. If it was one word, one thing that you are wanting to, let me see, I'm trying to kind of close with something that we can kind of be united with. One takeaway, I already asked you that. I already about asked you what you got out of the session. So let's see here. I'm trying to think of something creative, y'all. I didn't plan for this. I'm just kind of going off. Let's see here. What's one thing that you've been told about social work that you have found out is not so much true, or something that you was able to get a different perspective about? Let's end on that note. What's one thing that you've either been told about social work that you've either want to explore to find out if it's true or not, or you have had a chance to experience that it's not true? Let's start there. And the reason why I asked that question is because, like I said, the profession and the work that we do, it is still very much a stigmatized profession where people knowledge base and their visual image of what social workers are and what they do are just taking children away from their parents. And a lot of times that is within that small box of child welfare mentality that, oh, this is what traditionally social workers have done for way back when, of historical times. But the profession has developed so much since then that we can no longer be in one box. We do so much more. So I'm interested in hearing to kind of like detest some of those things. Leah says social workers don't make much money. I've heard that. Rosie, we don't make any money. I heard that, and I third that. It's just simply not true. It just depends on what your experiences are, what your field practicum and internships experiences is, and then also what previous experience you may bring. Even if you're coming in, so it just depends on what you're willing to start at and build towards. I would definitely say you have to build within this career. But I'm not going to say that you're not going to be able to make any money, though. I'm definitely not going to say that. Oh, goodness. Thank you. I was telling you, thank you, Rosie, for letting me know I was muted. I wanted to let you know that we are pretty much past 10 o'clock now, and I was wanting you all to know that we're going to be meeting every Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Definitely look out for episode 3 from the academic sector of the podcast of the channel, so definitely look out for that. But definitely, like I said, let people know. If you're not subscribed already, definitely subscribe to me, like the video, follow me on Instagram. And I really appreciate you all. I appreciate you taking out your time to chill with me and converse and engage in discussions. But we have so much more to go. I'm like looking forward to this. So I'm just like so grateful to be able to be in a place that I can give back and encourage and inspires others that are going before me and after me, to really kind of like encourage people throughout their whole process. Okay, so definitely, like I said, the only thing I ask is that you connect to as many as people as you can and let them know about what's going on Tuesdays and let them know about the channel, and we'll go from there. We'll go from there. But yep, like I said, my name is Melanie. I am your social work development coach. And you are watching Core Inspirations Live. It's a channel designed with social work students and professionals in mind. Definitely take out the time to explore, look around the channel. I really hope that you are kind of getting to know me more, getting a sense of who I am and my personality. So like I said, it's a real laid back, informal time that we just discuss and we talk about things that maybe sometimes people are not aware of or really haven't got a lot of clarity about. So, please be advised, I'm not telling you what you need to do. I'm just sharing my insight and experience and expertise of my experiences thus far. But I want y'all to know that y'all got what it takes. You have what it takes. You possess what you need. And if you don't have all of what you think you may need, continue to develop and grow. So that way you can be whole and you can be the best person. So that way you can impact and change lives, right? But thank y'all so much. Thank y'all so much for watching. I will talk to y'all later, and y'all have an awesome, awesome night. Bye.